Hi, my name is Mr. Robinson, and my preferred pronouns are he and him. This is the syllabus for the Chemistry Lab Techniques course for the 2019-2020 school year. Our class will meet in room G204 on the second floor of the science wing. In accordance with school policy, I am available for extra help on Tuesdays and Thursdays after school from 2:30 to 3:30 p.m. If I'm unavailable for any reason during that time, I will send an email to inform everyone as soon as it is possible to do so. I do have the ability to meet by appointment at other times for extra help. My email and my phone number are listed on the syllabus, but my preferred method of contact is email. I only can respond to phone calls and voicemails using the physical device in my classroom on the school campus. However, I do have devices that I can use off of school campus and outside of school hours to respond to emails. I do try to respond to every email within 24 hours, even if it's just a note saying that I have received your email, and I will write a further detailed response at a later time. If you've not received an email response from me within 24 hours, please send me a second email. I have 3 useful websites that I am putting the URLs to on the syllabus. I do suggest that you bookmark them for your convenience. I'll be posting grades for this course on Aspen. We have an online textbook for our digital textbook, which you can log into using the username and password that's been provided to you. And we have a class notes and handout site using Google Sites, where I post any class notes and any handouts that were covered in class. So if you miss a class, or if you get home and realize you're missing a homework assignment, or missing some section in notes, or missing some material you need to complete a class assignment or lab, you can go to the site and you should be able to find those materials in digital form after 5 p.m. If you cannot find something you're looking for after 5 p.m., please email me immediately. For course description, this course is designed to introduce students to chemistry concepts, including the importance and relationship of chemistry to everyday life. Our major emphasis will be on the use of laboratory equipment and taking and recording measurements to investigate properties and interactions of matter. Students will derive conclusions from laboratory experiments and problem solving. In accordance with school policy, my grades for this class will have term grades based on the following 5 categories with the following point values. Tests are worth 25% of your trimester grade. Quizzes are worth 15% of your trimester grade. Labs and projects are worth 20% of your trimester grade. Homework is worth 20% of your trimester grade, and class participation is worth 20% of your trimester grade. These, along with your mid-year exam and final exam scores, will determine your final grade for the year. For materials, each student will receive an online access to the textbook. Please bring the following items to class every day. You will need a charged Chromebook for responding to the leading off questions. You should have a graphing or a scientific calculator. You are not allowed to use a cell phone as a calculator in my course. You will need a pencil or pen for labs and worksheets, and also for notes unless you're using your Chromebook. You'll need pocket folders or a 3-ring binder for any handouts that are given in class. And you'll need a notebook or lined paper for taking notes unless you're using your Chromebook. Assignment information. Dates for tests, quizzes, and labs will be posted in the classroom and also in the class calendar. Class notes, handouts, homework assignments, project information sheets, labs, and rubrics will be posted on the class notes and handouts site by 5 p.m. each day. If you cannot find something you need posted on the site after 5 p.m., you should email the teacher immediately. Keep in mind that if you wait to ask me at the start of class the next day, it is possible I may not have another copy of the materials that you need, and it is very likely you will not have enough time to complete the assignment for full credit. Labs and projects being collected should be placed in the top letter tray labeled for your class period at the start of class or at the end of the activity. Assignments submitted after the deadline will be marked late and will result in a lower grade. All assignments submitted without a name will not be graded. All late labs and projects will lose up to 40% of the points earned. Labs and projects cannot be retaken. Now, to clarify, this means that all labs and projects turned in late will only earn 60% of the points earned. They lose up to 40% of the points earned. So if you perfectly answered everything in the lab and should have had 100, but you turned it in 2 months late, your 100 turns into a 60. Likewise, if your lab would have scored a 60%, but you turned it in 2 months late, you don't get a 60%, you lose 40% of the 60 points, or 24 points, so you only get 36 points, 60% of the 60 that you earned. All lab makeup days will be announced in class and posted on the class calendar. If you miss both the lab and the makeup day, you can obtain data in order to complete the lab for partial credit. My courses are lab sciences. Part of the class is doing the lab, and there is value to completing the lab. So there is a portion of your lab grades that is for participation in doing the actual labs. If you miss the makeup day and the lab day, you're unable to arrange time to do the lab, you will not get full credit for the lab. All students are expected to turn in a lab. Although you will work in groups of up to 4 people to complete a lab, I do not collect group labs. While I may, on occasion, ask the members of a group to share one copy of a graph of the data they collected through Google Sheets with me, I expect each student to turn in a copy of the data they collected, along with their analysis of their data, the conclusions they have drawn from their data, and their own answers to post-lab questions. Keep in mind that while all groups may complete the same lab, the data each group collects may not be identical. If it is obvious from the post-lab questions that the people have been given or have copied answers, then all people with those similar answers will lose partial credit on their labs. I will not try to play the who did what game, and if it is clear to me that people have copied or shared answers, then anyone that I believe has participated in that will lose points. Homework will be shown on the leading off slides and agenda slides of the class notes, which will be posted to the Google site, and also in the agenda on the online calendar when there's an assignment. It is your responsibility to check for homework. On the class notes pages, on the leading off and agenda slides, it is going to be at the bottom of the page in red text. Homework assignments are graded on effort, how much of the assignment you completed or the percent of the homework completed, instead of the accuracy of the answers. I will go over the answers to homework assignments in class, and once we've reviewed the homework, I will not accept the original assignment unless you were absent on the day it was due. Alternative makeup assignments, if available, are posted on the class calendar underneath the original homework assignment and at the bottom of the slide showing the homework answers in class. Students may submit alternate homework assignments up to 1 calendar week after the due date for up to 75% partial credit, and up to 4 calendar weeks late to receive up to 60% credit. Students with incomplete homework can earn 50% of their lost points by completing the alternate assignment within 1 week of the due date. This means that if your assignment is due on the 1st, you have 7 days or to the 8th to turn in the assignment. This is not A, B week, one class week to the next class week. It is 1 calendar week to the next calendar week to turn in your late assignment. Class participation, which uses the code CP in my gradebook, is comprised of 2 categories, and these grades cannot be made up or retaken. Leading off questions, which in your gradebook are assignments that start with LO and then the date of the leading off assignment, are 20% of your daily class participation grade. These are answered using Google Classroom at the start of each class and reflect being on time and prepared for class. Answers will not be able to be submitted once the agenda screen is shown, and any student in class who does not submit an answer will receive 0 credit. Students that miss the start of class without a pass will receive 0 credit. Students that arrive late with a valid pass will receive an exempt score. Now, leading off questions will be sometimes questions that allow me to understand prior knowledge. Sometimes they're questions related to the prior class. Now, if you submit a random answer that has reached time, you will not receive full credit. If you give me an answer of I don't know, you will not receive full credit. I want to be able to see what you know or what you think you know, along with being on time. This is one of the few things in class that has a time limit on it. Class expectations, labeled as assignments with CE and then the date, are 80% of the daily class participation grade based on the students actively participating in class activities and being on task and following class expectations and rules. If students are not meeting my expectations of the students in the classroom, they will receive less than 100% for that day's class participation. Students that are absent from class will receive an exemption. Class participation grades cannot be made up or retaken. Again, if a student is absent, they cannot be penalized for their absence, but students that are in class that are not participating, not doing the things that I'm asking them to do, not giving me their best effort, will not receive full credit. Additionally, any students who are sent down to the dean's office for behavior or for offensive language will receive a 0 for class participation credit. You will lose all the credit you earned for the leading off questions and class expectation grade for that day. My test and quiz makeup policy. If a student knows that they will miss a test or quiz due to a field trip, due to a sporting event, or other expected reason, you must make arrangements via email before the date of the assessment to make up the assignment. Now, it's very important that I get these through email, because what will often happen is somebody will come to me and say something while someone else is talking to me. I answer the other person, didn't hear the second person's question, and the second person thinks they've cleared something with me that I haven't gotten. The other thing I want the email is in case there's a discrepancy. Someone says that they wanted to retake a quiz on thermodynamics, and I provide the quiz for thermodynamics, and then they later say, no, I wanted the one on stoichiometry. Now we have a record to say that who made the mistake. Was it my mistake because I provided the wrong thing, or is it your mistake because you asked for the wrong thing? If a student misses a test or quiz due to illness or any other expected reason, you must make arrangements via email to take the assessment within 3 days of your return to school. This does not mean you have to take the assessment within 3 days of your return to school, but you need to make the arrangements to make up the assessment within 3 days of returning. Students that do not make arrangements in the appropriate time frame will lose their makeup privilege for that assignment. Makeup exams and quizzes have the same point value and contain the same content covered in the original exam, but will not be identical to the original. Students will be given the same amount of time to complete the test or quiz as their peers, and makeups will not have a bonus question with it. Quiz and test retake policy. Students may retake one test and one quiz each trimester. Students must email all retake requests at least 72 hours or 3 days before the date they first wish to retake the assessment. You may want to retake a test on a day, and I need some time to be able to print out a copy of the retake. I do not have extra copies lying around. I print them to order. Also, you may want to come and retake the test on a Thursday or Tuesday when I have already planned a lab makeup, in which case I cannot allow you to retake the test that day. It is the responsibility of the student to inform the teacher which test or quiz they wish to retake using the name of the test and/or quiz. All retakes must be taken at least 1 week before the end of the trimester or the start of final exams, unless it is otherwise noted by the teacher. The last day for retakes in each term will be posted in the classroom and on the online class calendar. Retake exams and quizzes will contain the same content covered in the original exam, but will not be identical to the original test or quiz. Retakes will also not have a bonus question. Extra credit policy. Tests. All tests except for the mid-year exam, the final exam, makeup exams, and retake exams will have at least one bonus question. Quizzes. Some quizzes, not all, will have a bonus question. Labs. Students may be able to earn extra credit towards labs by cleaning and organizing lab equipment in lab spaces or assisting other students during lab makeups. Class participation. Students can earn class participation bonus points from class activities and competitions, such as in review games. And homework. Students may earn homework extra credit points when the entire class completes the homework assignment in full and on time. When this occurs, students that complete the alternative assignment within 1 calendar week of the due date will receive bonus points. If the due date was the 1st, it has to be turned in by the 8th. If it's turned in on the 9th, that's more than 1 calendar week, and you will not receive bonus points. Additionally, any other creative Extra credit tasks or assignments for extra credit may be granted with prior teacher approval. In other words, if you want to do something that's not listed here, present it to me. If I like it, I'll let you do it. Group work. This class is designed for you to work with your fellow students. If you are struggling with a problem or concept, ask your peers how they solved the problem. If you understand the material, help your peers. This means explaining the method you use to solve a problem, not just giving them the answer to a problem. You are all in this together. Classroom behavior. The following is what I expect each day from my students. 1. Respect. Good classroom behavior is essential for learning. Each student must show respect for one another, the teacher, and the classroom and supplies and equipment. Respect the other student's right to learn, and you will be respected in return. Offensive language or behaviors will not be tolerated. Act appropriately in class by demonstrating behavior that is considered appropriate in the community as well as in the classroom. In accordance with school policy, hats are not to be brought into the classroom. Students who bring hats into the classroom will lose points for class participation credit. Use your Chromebook in class in an approved manner. Students caught using school-approved electronics for non-class related purposes will lose class participation points. Personal questions or grade requests should be asked after school or through email and not during class time. Part 2 is broken into 2 parts. 2A applies to the classroom. Only water is allowed in the classroom. Food of any type and all other types of beverage, including flavored water, are not allowed in the classroom. There are no sinks, mops, or cleaning supplies in the classroom in the event of a spill. 2B applies to the lab. Food and beverages of any type are never allowed in the lab. The lab may contain chemicals that are deadly if ingested, even in trace amounts. Any food in the lab for any reason will result in an automatic dean referral and loss of credit towards the lab, and also class participation points for that day. Also be sure to wash your hands after working in the lab or handling lab equipment before putting anything into or near your mouth or eyes. And before anybody wants to ask, yes, gum is considered a food. 3. No cell phones or unauthorized electronics. Cell phones and smartwatches must be turned off and placed in the designated area of the classroom, the holding rack, the shoe rack on the door. Handheld electronic game devices are prohibited from the classroom. Chromebooks are to be used for notes and authorized class activities only. Any student that violates this rule will have their devices confiscated and receive a 0 for class participation credit. 4. Be prepared to participate. Arrive to class on time, prepared, and ready to learn. You should be in your seat and ready to begin when the bell rings. Collect your handouts and take out homework that's due at the start of class. Be an active participant in your education by asking relevant questions, working as a team, and seeking out solutions. Please raise your hand and listen to other people when they are talking, as other students may have the same question as you. Off-topic statements or questions or attempts to stop me from teaching or other students from learning will result in a lower grade for class participation. Responsibility. Be responsible and accountable for your choices. Complete all of your assignments on time. Ask for help if you need it. Check the class calendar and class note and handout site if you miss class. Return all equipment in the condition in which you collected it to their proper places. Tables and desks and aisles need to be kept clear. Personal items should remain under your table or seat. Arrive in the appropriate dress for labs and wear personal protective equipment, PPE equipment, while in the lab at all times, unless otherwise directed by the teacher. Notify your teacher immediately of any spills or equipment that is broken or damaged. While some materials may experience normal wear and tear, if you break school equipment from recklessness or misuse, you will be expected to pay for a replacement. If you miss class for any reason, you're expected to check the class notes and handout site and the class calendar for information concerning missed content and assignments. If you did not take a test or a quiz for any reason, it is your responsibility to schedule a makeup date. Please see the test quiz makeup policy on the previous page. Cheating is absolutely unacceptable. If you are caught breaking test or quiz rules or cheating on a test or a quiz, then all the people involved will receive a 0 and lose any bonus question points. If caught copying another student's homework or lab assignment, each person will lose at least half of their earned points. Lab behavior. A more detailed lab safety document will be provided to students. Dress appropriately for labs. Personal protective equipment, PPE, must be worn during labs at all times, which includes lab aprons, protective goggles, closed-toed shoes, and long hair up in a bun. Loose-fitting clothing, hats, scarves, and any dangling accessories should not be worn during labs. It is preferred that students wear long pants or skirts with shirts that cover the torso and arms. Lab days are like gym class, and students who are not dressed appropriately will not be allowed to participate and will lose credit towards the lab. Students must wash their hands with soap and water after the lab is completed and materials have been returned to their proper places. Any student who defies teachers' directions, is not wearing PPE correctly in the lab, or who acts in a dangerous manner for themselves or towards others in the class will be removed from their lab immediately, given a dean referral, and lose credit for the assignment. A second offense will result in that student being prohibited from participating in any future chemistry lab. Every year there's a chemistry class that has an accident where people are hurt. I've been lucky enough not to have that happen, and this policy is why I'm not going to be that type of teacher who's going to have to live with the consequences of students being hurt due to people not being safe. Finally, textbook. We're using Chemistry, Matter, and Change, the 2017 edition created by McGraw-Hill. It's got a number of authors, a bunch of primary authors and secondary authors. This textbook is provided to you in online form, and your username and password will be covered in class. If you require a hard copy of the textbook, you will be responsible for it. I will use the textbook for homework readings, notes, and select practice problems. I don't use it in class, so you do not need to bring the textbook into class. The Chemistry Lab Techniques course is set up to focus on the skills that are used in a chemistry lab and in the process of doing science. These skills often pair up nicely to the skills that you use in your shops that you're enrolled in here at Neshoba Tech, and skills that you use in your careers once you've graduated from high school. We're going to teach these skills in the context of different chemistry topics in order to put a way to make it a little more meaningful. We're going to start with lab safety, and that's Unit 1. In lab safety, we'll talk about how to be safe in the lab, what to do when emergencies happen, and general procedures that you need to be aware of in order to come out of a chemistry lab in the same physical condition you went into it. Unit 2 is where we'll focus on lab skills. This is where we'll focus on how we use the different pieces of equipment, how to identify the different pieces of equipment, when to determine what piece of lab equipment you will use, how to record your measurements, and how to make accurate and precise measurements, and what the difference between those terms are. Unit 3, we're going to talk about matter in the periodic table. We'll talk a little bit about how the periodic table is laid out and some features of the periodic table and why elements are arranged in the way that they are. And we'll also talk about different types of matter and their properties. Unit 4 deals with mixtures. We will be looking at different types of mixtures and how we can the different techniques we can use to separate them. Unit 5 is atomic structure, so we look at how the atom is organized and its relative size compared to, if we made it to things that we're more familiar with. Unit 6 is chemical reactions, which focuses on how different types of matter interact with one another. So this is where we're going to look for signs of a chemical reaction. How do we know a change has occurred, as well as the types of reactions that can occur. Unit 7, we're going to focus on the mole, molarity, and pH. We'll look at how we can measure the amount of material without it being a count. We can look at the comparison of the strength of two different liquids made of the same chemicals, and we'll look at the relative strengths of acids and bases and how we measure those, as well as doing our famous tie-dye lab during this unit. Unit 8 is stoichiometry, so this is more along the lines of like baking. It's about the amount of materials that go into a reaction and predicting the amount of materials that should come out of the reaction. And Unit 9 is our gas laws unit, where we will look at how temperature, pressure, and volume of gases interact with one another and how this can affect the properties of matter and the rates of reactions. On the last page of your syllabus, you will find the Syllabus Receipt Acknowledgement Form. Please print, sign, and return this page, and only this page, to Mr. Robinson. This is one of your first homeworks that you will have for this class. I have high expectations for all of you, and I'm looking forward to an excellent year in class. There are no excuses. We will achieve our goals. This receipt acknowledgement says that you have read and fully understand the expectation for this course as outlined on the previous pages. You agree to abide by these expectations, obtain the necessary materials, and to give your best effort into all of your work, come to class with a positive attitude, and take responsibility for your successful completion of this course. You need to print your name, put your signature in the name, and date it. I also need a parent or guardian name printed, a parent or guardian signature, and the date that they signed it, along with contact information. Please provide an email address and or a phone number. I do prefer having an email address so I can send out blast emails if I'm not available, but if phone is your preferred method of contact, please let me know.